From the Ministry of the Presidency in Georgetown, this is This Week with the President.
Welcome to This Week with the President, a news magazine which provides you with an in-depth look at the policies, programs, and work of the President of Guyana. In the highlights this week, Guyana observes International Earth Day 2017. President calls on West Berbice residents to develop export-oriented economic plan. Bartica Regatta to become a major national event, and Guyana shines at Carifta Games 2017. Stay with us. The fact that it is the only home of the human race is, or at least should be, reason enough for everyone to make a conscious effort to protect and preserve the earth. On April 22nd, every year for the past 5 decades, this has been the principal objective of International Earth Day, raising awareness and reinforcing the need for action to safeguard the world's home for future generations. As a small developing country whose carbon emissions footprint is among the lowest in the world, Guyana continues to make global strides in the arena of environmental protection, and with the ongoing green state transition, the country can be seen as a model for sustainable development. On Friday, the Department of Environment hosted an event which included a tree planting exercise in observance of this globally coordinated day, which is being celebrated in almost 200 countries around the world.
Guyana has been the guardian of Mother Earth through its environmental conservation policies. Guyana announced that it would set aside for perpetuity 371,000 hectares of its forests, an area larger than the island of Malta, to be used as a model of conservation and sustainable forest management. Our president at that time gave a promise at the Heads of Government Conference of the Commonwealth in Malaysia in 1989, 28 years ago, long before Rio Summit, which expressed concern at the degradation of the Earth's environment and the threat which that posed to present and future generations. The area which he pledged 28 years ago is now known as the Irokrama International Center for Rainforest Conservation and Development.
Last year, Guyana signed the Paris Agreement on Climate Change, in which the country pledged to place an additional 2 million hectares of land under conservation. This is more than 5 times the size of Irokrama. Additionally, Guyana embarked on a green trajectory of development.
We feel that the Green State is an extension of our moral commitment to ensuring that Mother Earth is protected and preserved. The Green State will ensure the promotion of harmony between humanity and the habitat of our rich fauna. Guyana emphasizes the need to build greater awareness of the adverse effects of climate change and its threats to planet Earth. Guyana encourages its citizens, municipalities, and regions to take action to arrest these global threats. And this is one of the reasons why in the first Saturday of October every year, Guyana observes National Tree Day. The Cooperative Republic of Guyana commits to continuing to protect and preserve Mother Earth and to exercising responsible stewardship over our national patrimony.
Director of the Department of Environment, Ms. Ndb Schweier, said that it is an undeniable fact that the current generation is living in challenging environmental times, which is marred by the catastrophic threats posed by climate change.
The current state of the environment that we inhabit is quite different from what our grandparents and our great-grandparents can relate to when they were our age. Current environmental issues that confronts us, from climate change to waste disposal, challenges us to think about solutions to solve these issues. Ladies and gentlemen, these issues are not just going to go away on their own. It is therefore our collective responsibilities to ensure that we address these issues seriously, prudently, and with urgent attention. I am pleased, of course, to see the large turnout of young people here today, and that is very encouraging. All over the world, young people are involved in movements that promote a healthy environment, from providing training and encouraging awareness and action to establishing environmentally friendly startups. I therefore challenge you as stakeholders to be active participants in all fora that are concerned with environmental protection and to be worthy advocates of environmental issues.
The United Nations theme for Mother Earth Day 2017 is Environmental and Climate Literacy. It recognizes that in order to build a global citizenry that fully understands the concepts of climate change and the magnitude of the threats, education is key. UNDP Deputy Representative Ms. Shavna Malik urged Guyanese youths to become more active players in the environmental arena.
The job of implementing the Green State will ultimately fall on your shoulders. And you will have the most to gain if this job is done right. So please get busy and get to know that it is at stake and what needs to be done. By the time you become young adults, there will be changes in this world, changes to the labor market. Your interest should be decent jobs, including green jobs. Your interest should also be in community service and poverty eradication. Your government is actively engaging you in the green agenda. Make full use of this opportunity. Government and young people should collaborate as partners and establish clear and explicit pathways for the meaningful participation of the youth for implementation of the 2030 Agenda. I'm happy to say that the UNDP, along with sister UN agencies, continues to remain committed to partner with Guyana on this road full of challenges and promises.
The first Earth Day was celebrated in 1970 in the United States. Later, in 2005, the United Nations adopted a resolution designated April 22nd each year as International Mother Earth Day. The local Earth Day event was also attended by Minister of State Mr. Joseph Harmon, Minister within the Ministry of Education Ms. Nicolette Henry, and Minister of Communities Mr. Ronald Bulkan. The Mahaica-Berbice region has established itself as the bastion of food security. It boasts an area of 324,000 hectares on the cash crop cultivation, 42,000 hectares on the paddy, and 1,600 hectares on the coconut cultivation, with large herds of cattle, goats, pigs, and sheep. This region, the President said, is well placed to lead the way as the hub for food security in the region. But for this to happen, there must be cooperation at all levels involving all stakeholders. The region's Chamber of Commerce recently hosted its Expo and Trade Fair at the Bat Settlement Community Ground, which was held under the theme, Building a Diversified Economy. Speaking at the opening ceremony, the President said that all stakeholders must work together to ensure the development and implementation of a regional economic action plan, which should focus on the pillars of an economy that is export-oriented, buttressed by renewable energy generation and expansion based on economic diversification.
This region is an agricultural powerhouse. It produced nearly 248,000 tons of rice last year, accounting for 46% of national production. It produced 28 million coconuts, nearly 1/3 of the total production of the entire country. It produced 74.7 million kilograms of poultry, 1.6 million kilograms of beef, 281 kilograms of pork, 60,000 kilograms of mutton, 44 million liters of milk, 1,680 metric tons of fish and shrimp. No president could ignore such massive production. And let me make it clear, I'm here to augment that production, to help you to produce more. And anything that is good for West Berbice is good for Guyana.
Among this extensive list of agricultural activities, sugar remains number one in the West Berbice region. And while it is no secret that the industry has been facing tremendous financial difficulties, the Blairmont estate is one that is likely to remain open.
Our sugar has to compete on the international market. You don't just produce sugar and whatever the price is, you go out there and sell it. People will buy cheaper sugar from Vietnam and from Japan and from China and India. We have to produce our commodities more cheaply. Otherwise, we will not be able to compete. Whoever is in the government, you will not be able to compete if your commodities are too expensive. We want to save the sugar industry, but it must be efficient and competitive. We're not working to destroy the industry, we're working to develop the industry. And the industry has been contracting. Some countries like Trinidad and Tobago, Barbados, and Kitts Nevis, Jamaica, Belize have seen their industries contract. Some have disappeared altogether because the cost of production was too high. Guyana is trying to preserve its industry. And that is why there will be a Blair month, and that's why there's going to be an Albion, and we'll preserve as many of our plantations and estates as possible. IFLAT will remain. But we have to deal with the problems of cost.
In an effort to make the region a more export-oriented economy, the West Berbice Chamber has called for the support of government in providing training in marketing and the use of information technology.
When you advance technologically and you implement new initiatives, you end up yielding better results. So we want to make that call to our farmers, and we want to also make the call to the government of Guyana that workshops and educational programs are some of the ways that which we can educate our farmers into better practices. Only of recently, the spraying and the sowing of paddy within Region 5 is done by planes. And from the feedback that we receive from a number of farmers who have utilized this facility, they have reported that the yields have actually increased by about 40% because of that kind of improvement in technology.
The two-day exposition, which is aimed at stimulating the region's economy, featured a number of booths which showcase furniture production, solar energy services, craft, farm produce, and supporting products and services as well as agro-processing. For 65 long years, the Bartica Regatta has been a signature Easter event that attracts Guyanese from various regions across the country and even foreigners. The two-day annual affair, which is held at the famous Golden Beach in Bartica and which features thrilling boat races, concerts, and a pageant, is also known for making a significant contribution to the economy of the Cuyuni-Mazaruni region. On April 16, President Granger visited Region 7 to declare open this year's regatta and pledged the support of his government to raise the profile of this annual event.
This regatta has a long history from the colonial period when we had a visionary district commissioner called Jinx Angoy. And he's the man who's credited with putting together the regatta in its present form. Later on, he became district commissioner of the Rupununi district, and he triggered what is now known as the rodeo. And symbolically, both the regatta and the rodeo are celebrated at Easter time. And we have to thank a colonial district commissioner, Jinx Angoy, for the popularity of those two festivals. So I'd like to congratulate the Bartica Regatta Committee for continuing that tradition. And I'd like to thank also the sponsors for supporting this activity.
The president explained that the Cuyuni-Mazaruni is bigger than the Netherlands, spreading all the way to Arau and Kaikan. And while this much-anticipated annual event is largely sponsored by Barticians, it must include more residents in other parts of the region.
This regatta, although it is sponsored by the citizens of Bartica, must also include the people from the Upper Mazaruni and the Cuyuni as well, so we can get a wider variety of events and sports. You know, People come from neighboring countries to see this regatta. People come from different regions to see this regatta. And I would like to plead with the members of the Bartica Regatta Committee to try to attract participants from all over the region, not only to see powerboat racing, but to participate in other activities such as canoeing, sailing, water polo, swimming, so that we can have more sporting activities involving a greater number of people over a longer period of time. And I do believe that in doing so, the Bartica Regatta can fulfill not only the aspirations of a small group of people, but also of the whole nation, to make this a truly national event.
Since Bartica gained township status, the potential of the regatta to become a major tourist attracting event has increased tremendously. Even as it is, its impact on the region's economy is significant.
At regatta, the hotels, the transportation, the stores, everybody, they benefit from this effort. As you know, we have tourists coming in, and tourists is a money spinner. And it adds in a positive way to our economy. Because regatta is not a budgeted event. But now, with his undertaking, the region this year, and by extension the municipality, we will look at our program, and we definitely are going to place it in our 2018 budget. And with central government support, then I'm encouraged, and I'm positive that we can move to the next level. Indeed, regatta belongs to us, and no longer can we just treat it looking for handouts here and there. It's important to the life of Bartica.
At present, approximately $35 to $37 million is spent on the hosting of the regatta, and a bigger event will require about $50 million. After the opening ceremony, the president distributed kites to children at the Bartica Community Center ground, something he had embarked on about 2 weeks ago, visiting communities such as Friendship and Kabakaburi in the Pomeroon, Wakenham, Legwan, and Parika in the Essequibo Islands, Buxton and Lusignan on the East Coast, and Murataro in the Demerara River.
Well, for Christians, this is the most important festival in the entire calendar, because after a period of suffering called Lent, 40 days and 40 nights, Jesus suffered, and at the end of that suffering, we had his trial and crucifixion, which were commemorated on Good Friday, and then he was in the tomb for 3 days, and on the third day, he rose. That is, we celebrate his resurrection on Easter Sunday, that is today. So many children fly kites because they believe that that's a sign of Jesus' resurrection. But I won't give you a long story. When you go to school, I come and tell you the story of the kites. But what I do know is that this is an important ritual, a festival for children.
At what could be described as a landmark athletic performance for Guyana, the local contingent brought back a total of 8 medals from this year's Caribbean Free Trade Association CARIFTA Games, which was held in Curacao. 4 gold, 1 silver, and 3 bronze medals. Compton Caesar won gold for winning the male 100 meter. Natricia Hooper won 2 gold and a bronze, Claude Reese McCoy a gold and a bronze, and Aferni Hedeker a silver. Upon their arrival at the Chedijagan International Airport on Friday, the athletes were given a welcome befitting of champions. After that, they met with President Granger at the Baridi Ben Abbott State House.
The role of sports is very important, particularly for young people, and I always compare track and field with what happens in what used to be regarded as our prime sport, cricket. The only reason Guyana was able to rise so high in cricket and produce international greats, the Canais and the Lloyds and is because it had a broad base. So by the time you reach the top, you really had people of excellence. But when sports have a very small, a very narrow base, you find that you do not get people consistently of international standing.
This annual athletics competition was founded by CARIFTA. It was first held in 1972 and consists of track and field events, including sprint races, hurdles, middle distance track events, jumping and throwing events, and relays.
So all of our athletes did well. All of them would have contributed towards the success of this team, even those who did not make it on this trip, because they would have provided worthy competition for these athletes to excel and to get to the level that they're at. I sometimes wonder which one of the performances will remain in my mind for the rest of my life. But to know for the first time in the history of track and field in Guyana, and for the 46 years of the CARIFTA Games, it's the first time that we have gotten a gold medal in the 100 meters period. And that honor went to Mr. Compton Caesar.
The National Sports Commission has been working closely with the Athletic Association of Guyana to develop a core of highly trained athletes who will also represent the country at the South American Games.
Coming out from the school's national championships that we had last year, we started an elite squad. And amongst the athletes present here today, we have 3 such persons coming out from the school's nationals. This is a new strategy that the Sports Commission has adopted, in which we will scout those athletes from the national school championships, and of course lending support to the AAG to ensure that we see the preparation and continue support to those athletes in the development. These athletes will form part of the preparation for the hosting of the South American Junior Championship, which is due in June of this year. And like we did, the National Sports Commission will be lending support tangibly to the AAG in preparation for the hosting of these games.
The CARIFTA Games are seen as the ideal starting platform for athletes. To date, it has produced world record holders such as Usain Bolt, world and Olympic champions such as Veronica Campbell Brown of Jamaica, Kim Collins of St. Kitts and Nevis, and Pauline Davis Thompson of the Bahamas. And now we take a look inside the President's diary. On Wednesday, the President met with officials from the William J. Perry Center for Hemispheric Studies, a United States Department of Defense institution. During their discussion, the director of the institution said that the center has developed several new programs aimed at strengthening defense governance and is willing to work in partnership with Guyana in this regard. He said that every country has its own peculiarities and added that the center is prepared to share best practices and tailor a program to best suit the country's needs. President Granger informed that a partnership with the center could prove to be beneficial for Guyana, given the security challenges it faces. He explained that given the country's size, geography, extensive borders, and scattered population, it is difficult to conduct adequate surveillance and provide the level of security required in some far-flung locations in the hinterland. This week in the Presidency and beyond, we will give you a glimpse of what went down with the National Park on Easter Monday, where the President met with hundreds of people, and yes, staying true to the Guyanese Easter tradition, he made sure to fly a kite. It was selfies galore as the President made his way through the crowded park. Almost everyone tried to get a Facebook snap, and of course the children were most excited.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello. Oh, it's too heavy.
Joyan.
No boys, no fools, nothing at all. Any bright tennis. There you are, get out. I got friends in Bargain. All you made it? You want to come
There, right?
All right. Nice long breeze there. How much you all pay for the kite? 1,500. Let's say you give you a cheap kite. Give you a free kite.
Fun. Yeah.
In the lead-up to Easter, the President traveled to various communities across the country distributing kites to ensure that children participate in this Guyanese tradition.
Well, I've been to a dozen communities over the last fortnight, stretching from Region 1, Region 2 to Region 4 to Region 10. And I think Guyanese children are having a great time. We distributed over 2,000 kites. And I pointed out to them that flying kites at Easter time is a particularly Guyanese invention, I would call it, because in some of the other islands, only Guyanese fly kites at Easter. People don't know why Guyanese like to go out Easter Monday and fly kites, but it is a real good tradition up the stairs at Bartica. And I would like to encourage families, non-governmental organizations to donate kites to children so that at Easter they can come and celebrate this Guyanese tradition. So I've been having a good time, and I'm sure the children from up in the Pomeroon to right up the Demerara River to Malali have gotten kites, all the way to East Coast, Demerara, Parika, the Essequibo Islands. So I've had a great fun meeting children, and I'm sure today they'll be flying kites all over Guyana.
With that, we've come to the end of this week's program. Thank you for joining me. For regular updates on the Ministry of the Presidency, go to our website, www.motp.gov.gy. Like our Facebook page, Ministry of the Presidency, and follow us on Twitter and Instagram at MOTP Guyana. Do have a safe and productive rest of the week. Goodbye.